I unabashedly love tabloid stories. Without tabloid stories, no career. My first film, Gates of Heaven, came out of a tabloid story. And certainly this last film, titled Tabloid, comes out of a tabloid story as well. For me, it's the absurd, the bizarre, the lurid. The feeling that this possibly could have happened to me, and thank God it didn't. I like stories where I can't figure them out, that there's an inherent mystery about the story itself. The usual tabloid story does raise all kinds of questions and usually fails to answer them. I like to think, of course this is self-serving on my part, that I've found unusual complexity in this story. That I've made it into something more than just a simple tabloid story, even though its origins are certainly in tabloid culture and in tabloid journalism. Papers were fighting over this story. In many ways, fighting over the narrative of what the narrative of this story should be. And Joyce McKinney, who was at the heart of it, the story of the manacled Mormon, the sex and chains story, is an early version of something now that is completely familiar, the self-made, self-defined celebrity, the person created by themselves out of nowhere. I think that she was ahead of her time and defined a whole new trend of what we even consider to be celebrity. I have been asked unendingly about my feelings about the current tabloid scandal in the UK, the News of the World scandal. What's the relationship between this story and what's going on right now? It's a pretty simple question, maybe a complex question, you tell me. Maybe it's a slippery slope from the 1980s to the current time. But Milly Dowler in the News of the World seems to me a completely different kind of story. It's not about tabloids per se. I like tabloids, unabashedly, unapologetically. The problem with the Milly Dowler story is not a problem with tabloids. It's a problem with people breaking the law. It's taking a story and committing crimes, subverting a police investigation, hacking into phones, Dominique Strauss-Kahn and the maid in the Sofitel, and his arrest by the New York City police. DSK, as it was known in the United States. All over the newspapers. What's the first paper that I pick up to read about it? It's not the New York Times or the Boston Globe, which I get every morning delivered to my house in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I pick up a Murdoch paper. I pick up the New York Post. Because why? That's where I want to read about sleaze. I don't want to read about it in the New York Times. I somehow think Rupert Murdoch is best able to handle that kind of story. Trust a Murdoch paper? No, I just enjoy reading about that stuff, and it's a guilty pleasure. Okay, you've caught me. It's, do I deplore that kind of criminal activity in journalism? Look, secretly, if you ask me about journalism, recently someone asked me if I was a journalist, and I was surprised. I thought oh boy, maybe I am a journalist. Wow. And I started to think about myself as a journalist. Yes, I'm a journalist, proudly so. And I ask myself what's important to me about journalism. And to me, it's seeking the truth, or examining the relationship of our stories to the truth, or to reality.